and welcome to Netflix and Kill. Odd edition this time, a very strange edition. I don't know about you, Travis. I feel odd today.
Is it odd or is it strange? Which one are we talking about here?
I don't know. They do feel distinctly different. I mean, we're not talking about Stranger Things today. That one we did feel...
different.
Yeah. You know what? I kind of felt odd during Stranger Things, and for this one, I feel a little bit strange. So I think I got my wires crossed.
You're crossing the metaphors.
But who is very confused about how they feel? Why, it's me, Nick, the Merc with a mic, and my fellow Unapologist,
Travis.
And of course, we have our special guest for today, Natasha. Say hi to the people.
Hi, people.
Natasha, we've had you on.
Delightful to meet you.
Okay. And I'm sure it is a pleasure to meet you. I at least love it. Natasha, we've had you on the regular podcast before to talk about your podcast that you do, your Unspoiled Network. Would you like to tell the people a little bit about that?
Sure. It is a network of almost 30 shows now in which we cover popular TV shows and books, and at least one person cannot have seen the show or read the book. So the whole point of it is for people to be able to listen who maybe have read or seen it already and get to enjoy it as if for the first time, but for the second time.
Wow. That sounds unbelievably frustrating on one person's part, because I know if I was on a show like that, I would just constantly ask you, like, no, wait, but does this happen? No, but seriously, do these two characters end up together? Like, no other spoilers. Just tell me, like, if they end up together. No, I won't call it. Come on.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's what I feel like on this podcast all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I know you always live in a life of internal frustration, hence being my friend.
It's true.
But it's we have come together to do our own review of a film that I don't know if have you seen this film before, Natasha?
I had not. I hadn't even heard of it, to be honest.
So this was a film we were all unspoiled on. Oh, look
nice.
at that! Woo. Keeping it very very on brand. It's the film Odd Thomas.
Ladies, my name is Odd Thomas. Lord knows. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not the child of a celebrity. I've never been married to, abused by, or provided a kidney to a celebrity. Hey! But I do lead an unusual life. Knock, knock.
Loop me in, odd one.
This place looks like some kind of shrine.
Did you check the refrigerator for any severed heads?
That is Stormy Llewellyn. Stormy and I are destined to be together forever.
That must be for you.
I found a gateway to hell.
Get out of there, Audie.
Been communing with the dead?
It's not about who's dead, sir. It's about who soon might be.
You have a secret. You're either a clairvoyant, a psychic, or you got yourself some juice with a higher power.
I'm here looking for a guy. Creepy guy.
Any of those Bodax things around?
Bodax. When they do show up, it's a sure sign that carnage and bloodshed are not far behind. If they find out you can see them, they will kill you.
I'm just so scared for you, Audie.
A lot of people died in that dream of yours, huh, Odd?
Yeah, they did.
Your dreams ever come true?
This town is in serious trouble.
I want an APB put out on this guy now!
August 15th. Trust me, that is the day that Pico Mundo will never forget.
The Anton Yelchin film. And I think I said his name right. Holy shit. Woo-hoo. That might have been the first time I've ever said his name right. Like, I wasn't even thinking. Now I'm going to fuck it up next time. You know what? I won't say his name anymore. R.I.P. Yes. actor sadly died in an accident not too long back still, but this film was a 2013 release that has been on my Netflix queue for like 5
Since
5
we had
years.
Netflix, probably.
Yeah, since we've had Netflix, it's been on the queue. It's always one of those movies that like that's interesting, but like always sits on the back end of your queue and you never quite get to it.
I think if I realized that Willem Dafoe was in it, I probably would have watched it sooner, though.
I have like 2 Willem Dafoe movies on my queue that are like just sitting in the back there that are just not being.
I was a little shocked when he rolled up. I was like,
right?
How is he not like front billing? But yeah.
No, I am never shocked when Willem Dafoe shows up, because that's just his goal in life, is to randomly show up in things.
Willem Dafoe has a distinct feeling when he's in a movie, and that feeling is that he wandered on set one day
and wouldn't leave,
and they had to write a part for him. Like, I don't know why I get that feeling. Like, I get that feeling ever since Boondock Saints. I was like, this is a completely different character from a completely different movie. I'm not sure what this character is doing here, but it sure is entertaining.
Or the Great Wall movie.
He does show up in that.
What? Is Willem Dafoe in the Great Wall?
Yeah, he is.
He is.
God.
It's amazing.
He's there to steal their gunpowder. He's there to steal their gunpowder. He needs them for his pumpkin bombs.
I thought he might be a monster trying to get over the wall, but...
Also possible. He was in a green soup. It was weird.
Godspeed, Spider-Man. I mean, Matt Damon. So this film is very interesting. Natasha, would you like to give a quick breakdown of what Odd Thomas is actually about?
Sure. So Odd Thomas is about a young dude who can see dead people, and they come and tell him who killed them, which is very convenient. And he can also see creatures named Bodaks. Is that what they're called again?
Bodaks, yes.
Bodaks. And they feed off of pain and misery and death. And he can see them, but has to pretend that he can't, or they will kill him. And starts seeing a lot of those crowding around one particular strange weirdo who shows up in his town and realizes it means this guy's going to do some bad shit and has to figure it out.
And for context, the Bodaks don't show up for when a young girl is like violated and murdered, like by a serial killer. That's not enough like bad mojo for them to feed off of. So when like 20 or 30 of them hang around this one dude, it's kind of like, oh shit,
probably bad.
Some real bad's about to happen.
We should mention, too, that this is a movie based off on Dean Koontz novel as well.
Oh,
Listen,
really?
When I found out Dean Koontz wrote the novel, I didn't even know what to do with myself.
No.
Like, you said that again just now, and I feel like I'm hearing it for the first time, because my shock is still so fresh. What? It's just... that doesn't make a lot of sense in my head.
And it's a series, too, and Long also had 3 graphic novel prequels.
Okay.
Well, I did have the feeling during this movie that's like, oh, it's like watching a Stephen King movie, but not quite. Like, it's like Diet Stephen King.
Well, it does kind of feel like, he sees dead people, and that's not the twist.
So that feels appropriate for Dean Koontz, like, you know, Diet Stephen King.
I suppose.
It's like Stephen King, but it's a weird there's a weird aftertaste. So, yeah, this is an interesting film because it takes some of the tropes of the I See Dead People movies and kind of like just blows right by them. I think one of the interesting aspects about this film is just that almost everyone who is important knows about his ability to see dead people and bad shit.
That is like probably my favorite part. Even like the police officer's wife knows about it. Like they're there having sex and he calls up and like, fine, take the fucking phone call.
Man, I don't want to have sex with Willem Dafoe. I feel like I'd be afraid the whole time. Maybe he's a gentle lover. I don't know.
Isn't he actually like really quiet in real life?
He's very shy in real life. Yeah. If you ever catch him on
I have heard that he has an enormous dick. He is on a list of 10 celebrities that you didn't know had giant wangs, I believe is the title of the article, the BuzzFeed article.
Why is he so
for those
shy
of you
then?
who are wondering.
Well, it's not, but thank you for that.
Maybe
Natasha,
it's almost a handicap for him. You don't know how bad it might be.
Natasha, I was worried when we were bringing you on about your commitment to this show, but obviously the research you have done via dick size really shows me I've made a correct decision.
It was an unfortunate side effect of seeking out the gif of Liam Neeson running naked, was finding out about Willem Dafoe. Gotta take
Some
some and lose
sacrifices have to be
some,
made,
you know?
huh?
Yep.
I feel like Win Some and Lose Some could be the subtitle for this show. So yeah, I really like the fact that everyone there's no like dancing around like I have to hide this secret from my girlfriend. Like, nope, my girlfriend knows about it. I have to hide this secret from the police. Like, nope, police chief knows about it and uses him efficiently as a resource.
I'd hide this from my mother. Nope, because she's fucking crazy in an insane asylum. Oh,
Yeah,
that solves that.
as a person who watches the CW superhero shows, I'm really glad that they just got rid of that trope for this, because I'm really sick of that whole like I have to pretend that I'm not special or I don't have powers for not really any reason. It just makes things a lot
super boring.
Yes, they always do the same thing and they always find out anyway.
And it just doesn't make much sense.
No, it really doesn't make any sense. The people that you love are always safer the more they know about what's going on. So,
the one time that I've found that to be fun is like when it's played for almost like a slapstick kind of like joke in the background where, you know, there's some supernatural thing going, but you have to pretend that you're just a weirdo, for example. That can be funny, but, it's just most of the time, it, like you said, that you know they're going to find out and you're just sort of waiting for that part to happen. And most of the time it happens the exact same way where, what? No, you're crazy. I'm worried about you. Oh my God, it's true. And it's like, yeah, we just fast forwarded through all that and it's hugely appreciated. Thanks, Koontz.
Thanks, Coons. I actually kind of like his girlfriend, who is named Stormy. How timely that her name is Stormy. I forget her last name. I know it's not Daniels, but that's what I want to say right now.
It was like Lewins or something like that.
Well, even in the film, it says that her real name is something different, which I'm like, okay, good, because that when they first said like, oh, this is my girlfriend Stormy, I'm like, okay.
Actually,
Right.
I worked with a woman named Stormy.
Oh, really?
Like that was actually her real name.
You worked with a woman named Stormy. Did
Yeah.
you work in porn and not tell me?
Well, I wouldn't tell you now.
Okay. I'm
I was
just
supposed to
wondering.
be like, why wouldn't he tell you? Sounds
But-
fantastic.
I'm not going to give you any lists of giant dicks, so just back off.
That's my job.
Travis, are you on the list of giant dicks? Travis, I never knew. I did know.
And
What were we talking about? Man, this review has devolved into some dick conversation that I'm not comfortable with. That's just surprising for me. Let's see. So yeah, his ridiculously named girlfriend works at an ice cream shop with a ridiculous outfit in a mall. Like it all feels very 90s of like, wow, a mall still exists. Wow, an ice cream parlor still exists.
There's people in the mall.
Like, there's people here. What a quaint little town.
I can't, like, that uniform. Listen, that's like a Mean Girls, like, Regina George type outfit. No place is having shorts that short for their uniform unless you're working at Hooters. She walked out in that and she's like, I'm not having a uniform when I open. And I was like, this is genuinely an outfit that I would pick to wear if I were going to, because I like to dress like a hoochie a little bit. And I was all about it. I was very like, why are you mad about this? It's adorable. And then he calls her adorable. Yeah, I was on his side on this one.
Well, because they're both adorable.
They are
Man,
adorable.
their relationship is actually it walks this razor edge of they're almost too cute to where I hate them. But it never reaches that. They duck underneath it just every once in a while.
Would you throw yourself off a cliff for me?
Of course I would.
Into a river of razor blades and lemon juice?
Absolutely. Of course I'd like to know the reasoning behind such a request, but fortunately for me, you reek of intelligence and integrity.
And you reek of peach shampoo. Just the way I like you.
I think Willem Dafoe constantly call him like, you know what, you guys are too fucking cute, you know that? And I think that kind of maybe dissipates it a little bit for me.
Also, you think that Stormy is silly because it's her nickname? Apparently her real name was Bronwyn.
Bronwyn.
Ah, that's right. I knew it was some
Bronwyn.
Celtic sounding. Okay, that makes sense.
So before she entered this movie, she was vying for the Game of Thrones, like,
Or Highlander.
Ooh.
she was a Highlander. No, she's definitely not a Highlander. I know that from the end of this movie. Spoilers.
Jeez.
So you know what I love about Odd? Oh yeah, our main character's name is Odd, by the way. It actually is ODD.
Yes,
So-
we have Odd and Stormy.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like the name
When
of
you
a
say
sex
it out
tape.
loud like that, that just sounds ridiculous.
Sounds like the name of a sex tape.
Sounds like a Dean Koontz novel. But
That might be one of the sequels.
I love the fact, you know what I love? That not only does he see dead people, he's very proactive about it.
No, like one of the lines here she says in the movie is, "I see dead people, but then by God, I do something about it."
Well, the first thing we see is him, confronting that guy in the car that's has killed that young girl that he keeps seeing, and he gets into a whole foot chase. He knows how to fight because he's been doing this for a while.
Mm.
You get the real sense that this has been happening throughout most of his life, and that he's really built his life around it.
The only thing I was slightly concerned about was when Willem Dafoe shows up as the police chief. And it was like, okay, so he took out his wallet because he had to pay you for a bet. You saw the pictures, and that's how it happened. I'm like, wow, you obviously have done this way too often. That you're just like, nope, this is your alibi. Go.
Yeah,
Like, it's a little worrisome.
Yeah, he just supplies them with an alibi, so that implies a huge level of trust. Also, I have in my notes here when Willem Dafoe shows up, because I do take notes during these. So during my notes, I just have Willem Dafoe, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, smiley face, oh God, and then smiley face, but with the O symbol on it. I very much like Willem Dafoe when he shows up in movies.
He's amazing.
Especially when he's a surprise.
This whole scene with the foot chase and everything, like the initial confrontation with this guy too, this was where I started to be like, all right, movie, you got to decide what you're doing here. Because they have him coming after this guy, and there's almost like this Ferris Bueller style running through people's yards and up over cars and stuff to get to him. And it seems kind of slapsticky and goofy a little bit, And then all of a sudden, there's Anton with his eyes watering and his lip trembling, and he's like, "You have her blood in your pocket, you son of a bitch." And I'm like, wait a second. I thought we were here for a good time. What is this? Because it was so serious.
That's
and
such
then
a
it
dark
goes
storyline.
kind of back into, right? Like, I was not ready for that to be the thing that he said to the guy. Was basically that, hey, I know you collected a prize, serial killer. I was just not prepared for that. And then it goes back into a kind of goofy chase with his voiceover as he's like punching the guy and talking about how he knows how to handle himself. And that sort of sets the whole tone for the rest of the movie, is that it doesn't know what tone it has. It goes wildly back and forth between serious and trying to be a little heart-wrenching to downright silly. And
Well, I think there's a lot to do with Odd as a character, because, like, he is a kid that, like, sees fucked up shit on a regular basis, and yet somehow still kind of is happy and sees the best out of people.
Well, it remarks to me that the character is trying to deal with the fact that he deals with fucked up shit on a regular basis by diffusing it with humor, and trying to take it not as seriously, because he knows that he could die at any moment, but like it's trying to not let that get him down. But Natasha is right that at some points, especially near the end, during like the final climax, where we're still pulling kind of cute shit out of nowhere, I'm like, okay, things are like really serious right now, and there's like lives in the balance,
Like apocalypse level.
like maybe
Right.
we don't have to stop and crack a joke every couple minutes here.
yeah, I mean, like, I can totally get behind having something serious happening on screen and a ridiculous voiceover with it. I think that can be done excellently, but I just don't think they quite nailed how, because something goofy can be happening on screen, but you still feel like there are real stakes with it. And I think that was some of what was missing for me, was that I'm watching him, like, get in a fist fight with this dude who it just didn't connect with me that this was a real thing that he was invested in or that I needed to be worried about. And it's just like, I am a big fan of horror comedy normally, but it just felt like they, instead of trying to mesh them within one scene very well, they tried to flip back and forth. And that just didn't really work for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, the voiceover was not a good idea. And Anton Yelchin has a very interesting face. And that's where a lot of his acting takes place, is in his anime huge-eyed face, where he looks like a dog constantly looking for your approval. But his voice is very flat. We've done a previous Netflix and Kill on the show Troll Hunters on Netflix,
where he's a voice actor.
Where
God,
all of it is voice.
That movie.
No, not the movie Troll Hunter, the show Troll Hunters, the animated show.
There's a show?
It's completely different.
It's totally different than the Norwegian Troll Hunter that you're thinking of.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not that
real excited.
No, it's not that cool. No, I'm sorry for getting your hopes up. Not that one. It's a Guillermo del Toro CG animated kids show.
Except for they murder creatures repeatedly on screen, so I don't know how much a kid show is. Anyway.
Anton Yelchin is the main character on there, and he does voice work, and that's one of the main complaints I have of that show, is that his voice work is just very flat. He doesn't have a dynamic voice. A lot of his acting is just in his facial stuff, and it's... So I think when we're doing the voiceover thing, it's hard to get engaged with him because there's not a lot of emotion going into the narration. It's hard to gauge how much he cares about the job when it's just his voice. Let's see, but we do, I like the idea of the Bodax. I also like that in the novel, I guess him and a friend of his name them when they're kids, because it does feel like a name a kid would give a monster.
Yeah.
Like these, CG, ghost
oil things,
apparitions, it's hard to, they kind of combine with the environment a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, they're always a little bit a part of whatever they're traversing through.
Sometimes they go into the floor and pixelates for a second.
Yeah, it's a weird effect. I kind of like it. I'm not sure how I get how they work, but it's an interesting effect to be sure.
Yeah, I thought at first when you first see them coming into the diner, it just looks like tinfoil coming up off the floor at first, like as if the floor were covered in tinfoil and somebody reached down and just kind of grabbed at it. And then it started to materialize and stand up, and I was like, the fuck is that thing? Because it's illustrated in such a way as to almost look like... Do you guys remember the Three Brothers illustration in the Harry Potter movies when it goes into that animated sequence? Did you guys see that?
Oh, I can't remember.
The character of Death is illustrated a lot the same way as the Bodax, with the hunched shoulders and the head kind of drooping down.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about when they're talking about the deathly objects and stuff.
Yeah.
The cloak, where he gives the cloak and that sort of thing.
Okay,
yes.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah, okay, I kind of see that. So yeah, that's basically, the Bodax kind of lead the plot because he follows them into danger or whatnot. And we kind of get a breakdown of the rules of his abilities. Not only can he see stuff, but he has some other weird abilities too. If he just wanders around, he'll find the plot of the story.
Yes.
I'm sorry, he'll find whoever...
I forgot about that. That's... Yeah.
And for me, I'm kind of on one level, I like that because I'm wow, you've taken your lazy screenwriting to a whole new level.
Right. I totally forgot that.
It's so blatant of a plot device that I actually kind of respect it.
No, it's actually kind of impressive.
That you'd have the balls to try you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'll go with it. I'll go with this on you.
We gotta get the plot somewhere, right?
If I just wander around, I'll usually find whatever I'm looking for. And I'm like, what? That's a crazy coincidence of an ability. So yeah, he also sees dead people around town too.
The guy at the tire shop.
Dude, that guy at the tire shop had nothing to do with the movie.
No.
I thought they spent a good 2 minutes introducing him, giving him his backstory, and I'm like, so he's gonna come in, factor in later, right?
Just a visual gag.
Nope. Just a gag. And I was like,
thought he might be like the clincher. Like, oh, I need help. And this guy who's kind of been annoying and useless this whole time is going to turn out to be, nothing
Nope,
there.
just useless.
I thought he was Chekhov's, amputee ghost. So, but no, that never really seems to pan out. I do like how he doesn't seem to let this whole plot affect his normal life,
right?
Because he chases after the guy with the boat axe after him, and after a whole investigation scene at his house and stuff, where he calls his girlfriend during it to have a whole conversation, which is kind of fun. He calls the cops, he lets them handle it, and puts like a tail on him, and then while he's waiting for stuff to happen, him and his girlfriend go on a date.
Yep, why not?
It's like, you don't seem to like it, because you were telling me this was a really big deal before, and now you're kind of like, well, there's nothing I can do about it now, so I might as well go on a date with my girlfriend.
I mean, why not?
And
up
have
in a church belfry.
Having a picnic up on a church belfry because we're too cute to exist.
Also, can we talk about her having a Bluetooth in her ear while she's working constantly all the time and being able to just sit down and like read with a child? Listen, whoever wrote this has never worked retail.
No,
nope.
God, no.
Nope.
Sitting down is basically illegal in America because of old white women.
So I love this too, is that she has a Bluetooth because she is working, but
he does not.
He does not. He doesn't have to talk to the dead people, I guess, but normally in normal, like, I talk to dead people movies or whatever, I always get frustrated with, you know what? If you're going to talk to a dead person, just put a Bluetooth in your ear and then no one will look at you weird.
It's true.
Like, that's always a thing for me. So they finally have a Bluetooth in this movie, but it goes on the person that's working in the ice cream shop. Yeah, and I love the little girl that, like, especially near the end where things are like being very tense, and they're trying to build up myth, like, and there's going to be consequences, and they have have the Stormy reading to a little girl, and I'm like, okay, is there going to be a bus filled with nuns pull up at the mall as well? Like, how much are we going to up these stakes here, guys?
I could see that happening.
And yeah, I guess I kind of just like some of the other filmmaking aspects of this. I mean, there's a point where someone takes a hit, like a lot of the fighting and stuff holds an impact. Someone gets hit with a baseball bat, and I just really like that scene of like, woo, that actually felt like a hit.
Yeah.
And they actually show the aftermath of being hit in the face with a baseball bat, and I'm like, yep. That's exactly what happened. The person's jaw's dislocated, and it's all like fucked up.
They're
and
not
like,
too pretty.
Yep.
And they're not getting back up.
Yeah. Oh, also we get the trope of vague dreams that don't mean anything until it's absolutely too late.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I kind of like that. Like, it's when it starts to get pieced together. It's like it kind of has to walk this fine line where it's almost like with Agatha Christie when you're doing the big reveal of who the murderer was at the end, and you can't be too clever about it because then I just get pissed off because there's no way I could have even approached putting that together. So this one, I was a little bit like that. I wish that we got just a little bit more, like maybe seeing the fountain in the background as he's walking around. And then we could think, oh my God, I wonder, is that the water? But instead, he sees everything as he's hearing it, her words in his head. So we don't get any opportunity to like participate in it. And I felt like that was a little bit of a bummer because I kind of enjoy those little, letting the audience sort of try and put things together for themselves.
Well, I think this one's a little bit different because it isn't really supposed to be a mystery. Like, it is supposed to be just a trick for the character more than anything.
Yeah, well, they use it like with, at first it's the bowling team that get gunned down that are like dragging him away. They don't have faces, which is is very intense. I was like, ugh, this is scary. I thought they were confirming my long since held theory that if you join a bowling team, you no longer have a soul. But apparently that's not a case. It's still just a theory on my end. But
I dated a guy in a bowling league. Can confirm.
I am so sorry that happened to you. My condolences.
I didn't know until it was too late. I wouldn't have let it get so far.
Right? I hope you get that part of your soul back. There's also he sees a bullet go through a heart, but he doesn't know whose heart it is. And I'm like, what a useless fucking vision.
Yeah.
What a useless vision.
Cover your heart, all of you.
Cover your hearts. So he makes like this heart protector necklace that's in the shape of a heart. But no, he doesn't make it because he gets a friend of his to make it, whose note I also wrote down, which was Patton Oswalt! ! Question mark? What are you doing here?
Just for that scene.
Another one that I was like, he's got to come back, right? Nope, he doesn't. I wanted to see more of this weirdo.
There's a lot of points in this thing where it does feel like a novel that they had to cut certain parts out of. Because there's like...
there probably was another scene with him.
I cannot confirm because I have not read, but a lot of these people read like they might as well have a subtitle underneath them, like Patton Oswalt! I was more important in the book.
Yep.
Like, but yeah, I like the fact that they try and avert the like, oh, I see a bullet go through a heart, so I'll get a heart protector thing, and that actually had nothing to do with that vision, but somehow still comes into play later and still helps them out through some crazy coincidence.
Yep.
But yeah, you know what? I really like Odd. I like the character Odd. It seems like everybody else likes him too. He has a weird certain charm about him that makes him just kind of likable. I think the dialogue is probably the most part of that, where, I mean, even the where he's hanging out with the police chief and one of the cops comes over with his girlfriend. The girlfriend very much wants to fuck Odd in that sequence.
You know, if you ever decide to give cooking lessons, you should give me a call. I bet you really know how to whisk.
Like, giving him the eyes and everything. And I think he's like, you have a certain charm, you know that? And he's like, I've heard that, but I find that claim dubious.
You know, Odd.
You're a strange one.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
Bit of an oddball.
It was my nickname all through high school.
But you do have your charms.
That's what Stormy says. Personally, I find it rather dubious.
And I'm like, you smooth motherfucker. I've used that exact same line in a bar at one point. I'm like, yep, that's pretty effective. And he even lays down a weird compliment too, which is like, you have beautiful hands.
Did you used to play piano?
I did, yeah, for years. How'd you know that?
Because you have really beautiful hands. I bet you play like a dream.
If you look at the straight dialogue of that's like Stalker or something. Like, you have beautiful hands.
Yeah, that's a serial killer thing where you're like, well, he's gonna find you, chop off your hands and keep them in a folder.
You have beautiful hands. They look great draped around my neck. But when he says them, he sells it. I'm like, no, that's cute. And I'm like, how does he make serial killer talk cute? That's a very intense skill.
Also, it makes me a little worried at what Stormy in his bedroom talk would be like then.
Man, I love your hands. Yeah, put them in the freezer so they feel like they're dead. What? Come on, he's into weird shit.
I was describing Anton Yelchin to a friend, and I was like, he's sort of almost like the actual charming Michael Cera. Michael Cera, he's always used to be like I'm so awkward and weird, but for some reason things always work out for me and girls like me anyway, and I always just don't buy it. And Anton Yelchin's the guy that they use to actually play those guys that you could see them having had a hard time in like middle school or high school, and now you get it. You're like, oh yeah, I kind of missed the boat on that guy in high school. What a shame. Look at him now.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. I'm I'm so sad about him being gone because he had so much potential. Bummers.
He embodies that adorkable. Like the word adorkable, I think, was invented for people like him.
Yeah.
Where he's awkward. You can definitely tell he's awkward. And there's something strange about his look, but you cannot deny he's distinctly attractive. Like there's something about him that makes people like him. So I like while we're talking about the dialogue in this film, can you parse out what this one line of dialogue meant for me? Because it's during their picnic and they're talking about like crackers or something. And he's like, yeah, and we have, cheese and crackers, and he sees the dead guy coming after him. Like, no, he sees the, what's it? Bob? That was the name of the guy?
Fungus Bob.
Fungus Bob coming after him as the guy he's been following all day, coming to the church. And he's like, oh, we have a problem. And she goes...
Do you want crackers with your cheese?
We have a problem.
Crackers aren't a problem, just a choice.
Crackers aren't a problem. They're a choice.
That's not even just the only line these two state that's like that. That's just how they are, apparently.
Crackers aren't a problem. They're a choice. What the fuck does that mean?
Some of my choices are problems.
I could spend all day trying to parse out what that means.
Well, Nick, you've obviously never had crackers in your life.
That is a riddle for the ages. Crackers aren't a problem. They're a choice.
It said with such conviction too. She means it.
But Hot Pockets,
Yeah.
those aren't a choice. Those are destiny. Like what? What a weird thing to say. But you know what? They're perfect for each other. These weird fucking people are just so insanely perfect for one another. I don't know. I think this film overall works for me, even though that it has tonal problems and just, I mean, some of the problems I have are kind of near the ending where it like ends 4 or 5 times. Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know, Natasha, what'd you feel about her overall?
Overall, it was one of those that I was like, this had a ton of potential. That I really like the concept behind it. It's left me going, I kind of want to read the book now, because I wasn't a big fan of the actress who plays his girlfriend, because I felt like she delivered her lines really like flatly. And like you said, there were moments where her lines were funny. And because of how she delivered them, I missed it until I stopped to think about it a second later and was like, wait a second, that was a good joke, actually. So when there is an ending that's kind of mean, I felt a little bit cranky about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely want to go and check the book out. Especially like now, you said it was a trilogy or something. It's a series.
Yeah, it's like a multiple series books.
Yeah, I think so.
They ended the movie in a way as if they were trying to set up a follow-up film.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's what it's like. I didn't feel like the movie worked, but I like the story, and I would definitely like to check it out further.
Yeah, I mean, I really like, I do like their relationship a lot. When she does give him the call when he's investigating, I like how he jumps and it had a tense moment, and he even answers the phone like, well, I just won a personal achievement in the jump and gasp event, which just makes me think, I'm like, that's a great, maybe a great Olympics of just like, you know, who someone came in first in the 100-meter trip and dash when they're trying to run away from a serial killer. I mean, I like Anton Yelchin. I think he sells the odd part of this scene. There are certain things that don't seem to make like a whole lot, like he has so much of his other shit down of like how his life is with this, supernatural ability, but yet he like says like, I keep things as simple as possible. So I'm a fry cook. I don't have insurance. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Not having insurance makes your life simple?
I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about that. And when he said that, I definitely wanted to just hit pause and go, hold on. Because as somebody who doesn't have insurance, that shit sucks.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
what he's
anything
talking
but
about.
simple.
Yeah.
There's certain parts I'm like, well, why aren't you just a private detective?
He should just be like an honorary member of the police force or something. Like they should give him a bullshit title and just let him go.
Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't seem like
yeah,
like like Psych or something, like that. Only he's an actual psychic. But yeah, I like Willem Dafoe as this police chief that is just very readily accepting. I really like seeing a bunch of people that already know what's going down and recognize that it is weird, but have been doing it long enough to where like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
I'll take your word on it.
I mean, you only get it proven right so many times where you're like, well, obviously we just follow what this kid says.
It's a refreshing change of pace than what I've been watching recently, which does the whole like stereotypical milk this for all it's worth, keeping secrets sort of stuff.
Yeah, that line where Willem Dafoe just says to him, well, you're never wrong, so I guess I'll send a tail on him. Like, that was actually one of my favorite lines, was just he basically is like, this makes zero sense to me, but I'm going to use statistics and your track record like a sane human being and not argue for 20 minutes about why this doesn't make any sense. Thank you. Love it.
Yet there's no scene of like, I like you, kid, but there's just no evidence, so like I can't support. It's like, no, every other one of our actions has worked out for my benefit, so there's no logical reason for me to doubt you.
And in fact, the only time that would happen, Odd realizes at first, like, oh shit, if this happens, that means he's going to have to put me in jail, and he's not going to have a choice. Like, all the characters are very smart about what's happening.
Yeah, and I love that he says it that way. He doesn't go, oh, he's going to see me here and assume the worst. He's like, he's going to know that I didn't do this, but he's going to have to arrest me.
Yeah, he'd
which
have
is
to
just,
He wouldn't be a responsible police chief if he didn't arrest me.
Exactly.
No, I really like they do it very quickly, but they sell me on a lot of these relationships very quickly, and I appreciate that. So with that, I think unless anyone has anything last minute to mention, we'll just go into final thoughts and ratings before we go into a spoiler section.
We'll mention one thing that I was wrong is not a trilogy. In fact, it has 6 sequels.
Whoa!
The most recent one having come out in 2015, actually.
Oh, okay. But this film did feel like if it was not the start of a movie series, they wanted to start like maybe a TV series, and like this was the kind of the high budget pilot out of especially how it ends, like the very end shot.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, overall, a while not being anything too revolutionary, I think it's a fun time for this kind of level of, I see dead people, supernatural detective sort of thing. It's fun. I, enjoy the characters. Sometimes it might be a little bit too fun depending on the subject matter that they're dealing with. Like if I'm trying to hide a body, I'm not sure if I'm going to make a joke about rolling up a giant doobie while I'm doing it. It's like, it's kind of like a serious situation, but fine. But I think I'll give this one 3.5 heart medallions out of 5.
Heart medallions.
Really contrived heart medallions out of 5. Travis, how about you?
No, I enjoy this movie a lot. Like, just watching it where I'm like, oh, hey, this is so, like, untropey for the most part that, it's always been such a cliche since, the very first time it's happened. Like, I see dead people. The fact that, hey, look, yeah, he sees dead people. That's the beginning of this show. It's not going to pussyfoot around with it at all. That it is kind of like Psych, like you said, except for like a supernatural thriller type thing. And the characters are just so interesting that it is such kind of a character piece that what's happening in the background is just more of like, no, this is an extreme kind of day for me, but this is still kind of like my daily life. It's just kind of a unique movie that I really did enjoy a lot. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10.
All right, sounds pretty fair. Natasha, how do you feel overall?
All right, so 7 out of 10 and 3.5 out of 5.
Yep, we give arbitrary number ratings. It can be out of like 69 if you want.
I'm doing it a 7 to cut it to the middle there. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 7. It was better than I expected. I didn't love it, but I thought it was fun, and it just felt like it's the gateway to me maybe discovering a series that would be a lot of fun. I would check out the audiobooks of this. I probably will.
Great. Well, with that, I think we're going to go into a small musical break, and we'll be back with a spoiler section for Odd Thomas right after this.
My head begins to jingle most every time I nod, 'cause obviously, quite obviously, I'm odd. Each Christmas I go fishing to catch a Christmas cod, 'cause obviously, quite obviously, I'm odd. When I was just a kitten, they said I'd be a gem, but now that I'm a Cheshire cat, it's odd how odd I am. I own a feather pillow, but I slumber on the sod, 'cause obviously, quite obviously, I'm odd.
And welcome back to the spoiler section for Odd Thomas. Spoiler, he is very odd. He's an odd guy. I actually wanted to share this. It's a very interesting thing I was reading on the IMDb here. Apparently in the series, his friend, like, they do a riff on the same thing that happens in the movie where his friend also sees the boat axe and gets hit by a car.
Okay.
In the series, he gets hit by a runaway car and pinned up against a wall and dies that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a little less funny.
No.
Yeah, it's super weird. Because
the scene they have in the movie is kind of funny at how sudden it happens, where it's like, oh geez, what happened?
Well, he doesn't get pinned by the car; he just gets hit by it.
Right.
So I didn't even connect it. But in the book series, he dies in such a similar way as Anton Yelkin died. It was crazy to me.
That is weird.
Oh,
that's creepy.
It's
damn you, Dean Koontz! I blame you.
Did Dean Koontz murder Anton? No, we shouldn't defame Dean Koontz. Like
no.
I don't know, guys. Follow the theories; it makes sense.
That's messed up. I'm shook. I don't like that.
But yeah, the ending of this film takes place at the mall. He finally figures out that the guy he's been chasing has been dead the whole time, which is why he has not talked, because the dead can't talk, which is another interesting rule that they bring up. And they can't affect the living, only they can do the poltergeist thing of, like, affecting places that they are. So that's interesting. So yeah, it's actually part of a satanic cult that was created before, and this cop was the one that was wants to basically create a mass shooting at the mall, and I guess their plan was to look like heroes as they walk out as well. And we see Odd come to the security room and knock out that one guy with a baseball bat. And nope, that's the other cop that we met whose girlfriend totally wanted to fuck Odd. And it was like, oh, okay, so there was actually not only two guys, there was three guys. Oh, okay.
I do remember too, when we were watching the movie, we tried like, oh, well, it has to be someone else. Who is it? And I think you guessed the guy who's walking into the house. I guessed the policeman. And we're like, oh. We were both right.
Yeah, we were both right. Because during the previous part of the film, there was a guy who comes out with a gun and shoots the girl that was into Odd. She gets sucked on by Rottweilers, and he comes out with a gun and shoots him. And I'm like, that's the same exact gun we saw in the previous scene. It's the exact same gun. I know because they use the revolver, and that's what people, when they make movies, they make distinctive weapons for when they want to recognize a gun. If you don't want to recognize a gun, just use a Glock, because everyone has a Glock or something, and it looks very similar. But if you're using a revolver, it's very distinctive looking. So I'm like, okay, he's definitely involved. And then I kind of forgot about that guy until later.
I thought that the cop was the one because of that weird scene where Anton's character is trying to, like, make up, oh, well, he got aggressive with me earlier. That's why you should check him out. And then Stormy has to step up and be like, ooh, what's your tattoo? And the focus that they were putting on him and the way the camera was looking up at him, and he was he had this, like, Hitler Youth sort of look to him a little bit. I was just like, yeah, all right, this guy's dirty. What's going on? But I didn't expect there to be, like, a bunch of them.
Well, he has the tattoo pod on it, so I'm like, oh, he's a real big fan of podcasts. That's his dark past. That must be his whole thing.
His secret shame.
No, it actually stands for Prince of Darkness.
That's pretty lame, to be honest.
I just can't think of anything less impressive if you're like a Satan worshiper,
right?
Than pod as a tattoo.
Do you think that if Satan comes down and be like, oh my god, I've finally been summoned. Who summoned me? Pod. Okay, I'm going back to hell now. Find someone cooler, please.
Wasting my time here.
It's like you're trying to summon Satan in leet speak. Of just like text like, I was talking to Pod, LOL. It was really like you wouldn't even believe. So
actually, if it was a bunch of like teenage girls summoning Satan, that'd be even more entertaining.
They don't even use that douchey gothic lettering. Like it's just like
it's like block
up,
letters. Yeah,
so it's like acrylic, like pod. But where was I? Oh yeah, the mall. We get a sequence where the guy shoots up first part of the mall, seems to hit nothing with his first magazine. Really ineffective mass shooter. Odd discovers that the Bodocs know that he's been watching them and have been misleading him on purpose.
Which I loved that twist so much, and I felt like it got buried a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know what I wanted from that, but that's a really cool idea.
The problem is that there's 3 endings after that, and you forget about it. Like, it's like a cool reveal, like, oh, the Bodocs are a lot smarter than you think they are.
Yeah, there's a lot more sentience to them than you actually expect from just a random, like, feast monster.
Well, they go from, like a random force to becoming a lot more sinister in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, they're plotting and helping out, like, mass murderers.
But
like,
at the same time, that almost doesn't make sense, because they show later on that they can possess people. I'm like, oh, then why don't they just do that?
I assume that they get more malfeasance and, like, energy from natural human carnage.
That's possible.
Like, otherwise why wouldn't you just possess people? I mean, there must be a reason. I'm not sure what it is.
No, your logic actually, that sounds...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sure. Go ahead, Natasha.
Oh, I was just thinking that it might be that they are only able to possess somebody when they have been seen, like when they realize that they've been seen. Because isn't the only time that they do that when the guy, like, says, oh, I gave him the finger?
Yeah, okay. So
there isn't another instance, is there?
There is.
Except for the end of the movie.
The only 2 instances it happens are when they do know someone can see them. Maybe there's some sort of rule thing that they can't break unless someone else sees them first. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe there's like an honor system or something amongst the Bodocs.
Could be something that the novel
there's a
goes
rule
into.
in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably more well explained. But yeah, he shoots that guy, even though the Bodocs seem to be like swarming him. And it turns out to be the guy with the revolver from before. Mm-hmm. So again, like, oh goddamn it, we're still not done with this ending. And he's like, please tell me Stormy's okay. And she comes up in this slow motion from the back of the ice cream parlor and is like, go get him, honey. And it's like, yeah. And so he goes to find a giant truck of explosives, like just cartoonishly level of like
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, okay, like this is happening.
Like you almost expect an alarm clock to be on it, like, but no, it's a digital clock. Like that's such a crazy amount of explosives.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Bodocs possess what's his face cop. And a chase ensues where Odd is trying to get the bomb as far away from the populace as possible, and leads into this chase sequence in which Odd gets shot multiple times, but seems to forget that he's been shot.
Yeah.
Because, like, it seems like getting shot, it's one of those action movie tropes where getting shot doesn't seem to impede you after a while.
Adrenaline pumping, whatever.
Because he's driving and he's not really having trouble driving. He's fighting the other guy as he's hanging off the truck or anything. He seems to be pretty effective.
He gets shot in the head at one point where it just scrapes him, but it's also like not bleeding at all. I'm like, no, that would be like horrendous amount of blood.
So, and then he drives.
Yeah, head wounds bleed like crazy.
Yeah, like even that small scratch would just be like blinding him with blood.
Yeah, So, and then he drives the explosives into a canal in which it explodes in this canal form. Like, it's like, it actually diverts the blast. And I'm like, is that how explosions?
I don't care, because it was fun. And hey, this time a car exploded, we're like, wait, it had explosives in it. That would actually happen. Because cars explode anyway in movies, like whether they have explosives or not, so.
Sure. So yeah, and then we get the ending after that, and the, Odd, wakes up in the hospital, and Stormy is kissing up on him and everything, and the nurse is like, he's awake. It's all in slow motion, and we see the town is holding signs of like, in Odd we trust, and Odd saves, which, as the pun work, I respect it. Right. I respect it on a lot of levels.
Same.
So it is like almost saccharinely sweet of an ending.
And like him and Stormy just like basically decide to just say like, hey, we're just going to hang out in this house for a long time.
Yeah, we're going on a vacation basically. And then Willem Dafoe and some of his friends show up and they're like, it's been long enough, Odd. You have to let it go. And we see Stormy and she has bullet holes in her, and we realize that she's been dead since the shooting at the very end, and that she hasn't talked this whole time, and he's just been with her. And I'm like, how long have you been with her and not like spoken at all? Like you wouldn't get the tip off? Like,
well, I think he
Yeah, there
knew.
was, I mean, there's a moment where Robert or Bob, what's his name? Fungus Bob is trying to punch him and he can't, but he's able to kiss her.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that's about, but
I was under the impression
I'll let
that
it slide, but
I think he knew, he just wasn't ready to let go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it was more a psychological thing.
That's what I got out of it, at least.
And so, yeah, it's a kind of a sadder, depressing ending. He walks to Vegas, I guess?
Yeah.
Like I guess he walks there. I mean, I'm not sure how long of a walk that is, but that seems like it would be a dangerous thing to do. It's like there's just a lot of desert along Vegas, but fine. And it pays off in the earlier mention in the movie where they said, what's it, that if they wanted to go to Vegas and get married, he said like there's just too much evil intent in Vegas, and he'd just be working supernatural cases 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So he decides that with his life with Stormy is done, that he'll spend the rest of his life as he waits to rejoin with her, fighting evil and doing what he knows best, sort of thing.
Yep.
And we get the hero shot and credits. So I feel like this movie has like 5 endings in which 3 of them work. So by the time we figure out there's a 4th person, I'm kind of like, come on, really? Like there's a 4th fucking person? But I mean, I do enjoy the stakes at the end, and it's weird because the ending at first I'm like, this is a little too sweet of a happy ending, and then at the end I'm like,
super dark.
This is actually a little bit too dark of an ending. like I feel like Goldilocks in the Three Bears, and like, this ending is too sweet. This ending's too sad. This one is just the right amount of melancholy. I don't know. What'd you feel about the end, Natasha?
Which one?
I was like really, yeah, right. Well, regarding Stormy, like I had said that I was not a big fan of the actress throughout, and so I was surprised that when they released her body today, and he slowly turns and looks at her, I got totally teary-eyed. And I was like, where is this Natasha? You didn't even like her that much. What is happening? But he, just sold that moment of, shock and horror so well. And it just felt so mean. The whole thing was just... It was just rude. There's no need for this.
It was rude.
Give him something. God.
How
because
dare you.
they wound up with she has to go on to her next life. And I was kind of hoping that they were going to be like, hey, she's going to hang out and you're just going to have a ghost girlfriend from now on. Which would be sort of weird, but also maybe could be fun. And instead it really is he has to say goodbye. And I was like, this is fucking brutal. Yeah, I wasn't ready.
You're dead, and that makes me hot. Just like I always wanted. Man, we always go back to the weird sex stuff with Odd. You know what I really got sold on the relationship? There's a small moment before the end part happens where she is, of course, joking. They're having their regular type dialogue before he goes off and does something dangerous. And she gets on the scooter and drives away, and she has a small moment to herself where it's like, don't look back. Don't look back, because he needs to. I forget the line of dialogue. She said he needs to see that he sees you be strong or something.
Yeah, he needs conviction, something like that.
Yeah.
I think she says, "Give him strength."
Yeah,
it's like don't look back. And I'm like, I kind of like that. I kind of like that very small moment of because before they weren't really acknowledging how serious the situation was, but in that small moment is like, no, this is a serious situation, but I want to make sure that I don't treat it any differently so that he doesn't get more nervous and put any more, weight of responsibility on him. So I'm like, oh, that really played well. Every other scene on the scooter did not play well because that audio that they were editing, like do you guys catch that one scene when they're on the way to, what's her name that got eaten by the Rottweilers, where they were on the scooter and that overdubbing over their lines was so horrible? Like that audio.
I didn't notice that.
I guess I don't remember.
Okay, I maybe it was just me, but I found it super noticeable that like, wow, their audio is not lining up with the movement of their mouths at all.
Oh, I kind of wish that I had caught that, because that kind of stuff is sort of fun sometimes.
It's very interesting. Like they're trying to match up how it sounds, but it's just not coming off. Oh, also we forgot to mention the bullet heart thing. Willem Dafoe gets shot in the heart medallion.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so that was the thing, but no, later we find out the bullet going through the heart was
Fungus Bob.
That was the whole thing of leading him to that conclusion. So I'm like, so Willem Dafoe got shot in the heart medallion by coincidence?
I mean, if you don't know,
that's crazy.
If you knew that somebody gets shot in the heart and one of your regular acquaintances is a cop, I guess I would give it to that person.
Sure, no, the giving it to him makes sense. The fact that it actually happens and that he gets 3 bullets in there,
yeah,
that is nuts. that is crazy. Plus, it's a necklace. It's not like it wouldn't move around on his chest.
It doesn't make much sense on how it actually did happen.
There's a lot of things in the logic of that I'm questioning on a lot of there. But yeah,
but one did hit him, so there's that.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else in the spoiler section we want to mention? No?
I wanted to just talk about the extent of the plan that they had and how maybe that's a little close to home, guys, because they're basically planning a mass shooting. Mm-hmm. And I think that was tonally part of what also threw me, was that we're talking about a bunch of dudes who are going to be Satan worshipers. And that opens up, I would think, a plethora of weirdo rituals and plans and whatever. But instead, they're going to do this really average white guy sort of, just your neighborhood mass shooting. And
just regular domestic terrorism.
And it just sort of threw me that it was going to be something that straightforward. And the baseball bat to the face with the first guy, I'm 100% behind that. But then we have Odd shoot the other dude. And for some reason, that felt really weird to me.
Yeah, the good guy with a gun beats the bad guy with a gun.
I think it was a combo, of the good guy with a gun trope and just being like, oh God, really? And also that, like I said, this whole thing is so supernatural. He's getting attacked by Bodox as he's walking up to this guy. They're Satan worshippers. And yet it still just comes down to a guy with an assault rifle and a guy with a handgun, which just feels so... when he shoots him and the guy just goes down, I really didn't think that was going to be the end of it. I thought that the guy was going to get up again, or
get possessed,
or be possessed. Something that would, give an extra bit of feel to it, as if these guys had maybe actually connected with a force, and that was going to explain part of their Satan worshipping, their fanaticism, was that they had actually gotten some kind of power from this. Mm-hmm. But instead, it just seems to be completely in their heads,
Well, I mean, I don't want to do this. It's also a trope of the evil version of the good guy. But what if they also could see the Bodax and they were like Thomas as well, but they were using their powers for evil, sort of thing?
I don't really know how much evil could be done with that power, to be honest.
Well, we don't know if anyone could team up with the Bodax or something. Yeah. I don't know.
See, that would have been interesting though if they were able to maybe draw power from the Bodax, so they would kill and create suffering in order to draw Bodax to them in order to gain power from them somehow.
That
would be fun.
Well, it was made in 2013, but even then I'm like, we were still having mass shootings back then. This feels weird. Also, there's a line of dialogue in the beginning where the two cops, they do turn out to be evil later, so there's that. Mm-hmm. But they do have this opening thing before we know they're evil that is where one of them hits the serial killer in the head when they put him in the car, and I think the other officer was like, officer, being a cop doesn't give you the right to beat up people. And it's like, nope, that's just one of the perks.
Yep.
And they high five. And I'm kind of like, oh, that doesn't play great.
I mean, that's especially tone deaf nowadays, but like even then, I can't imagine liking that line.
Mm-hmm. That's
I mean, it's one thing when you kind of earned it when you're like on the wire and you've gotten to know everybody and there's a particular instance and you're like, yeah, all right, beat the shit out of that guy. All right, this is fine. But these are just two assholes that show up, and I was just kind of like, I let it go at the time because I was like, I guess. But then when it turns out that they were bad guys later, I was like, all right, I can forgive that a little bit more readily now. I sort of appreciate it.
They do turn out to be the villains. Our first impression of them is the correct one.
Right.
So yeah, it does feel weird that it is rooted in such a serious, like down to earth type event when it's such a supernatural story. Mm-hmm. But that seems to be kind of its thing of trying to root it in a certain sense of reality,
I guess.
And that's the kind of thing that I think would probably work better in a book. Or if you were going to do it in a film, I feel like you just need somebody who was just, there's something that's I can't even quite put into words that would need to be shifted a little bit for this to totally work for me. And I just kept getting taken out of it going, ooh, just little moments here and there. But yeah, it was just surprising, especially when it turns out that there's, as you put it, a cartoonishly large bomb in the basement. And the bad cop is just walking away from it was also the other thing that I thought was like, it didn't feel like they had planned this very well. Like there should be a car there, so you drop the truck off, get out, and then get into a car and drive away from the scene. Because it's going to look really suspicious that you were just walking out of the... I guess he's not worried about it looking suspicious because nobody's going to be alive in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that explains that.
No, I do agree, where even I like this movie a lot, but the ending is kind of like, their plan doesn't make much sense.
Well, there's plans, like there's shootings and there's explosions, and I'm like, wait, so would his plan to betray the other ones and it blow them all up while they were still in there?
Maybe.
Like there's a whole element there that I'm like, I don't feel like this plan was the same for all of these guys. I feel like they all had a different idea of what the plan was.
I mean, they already killed one guy for screwing up the plan, so yeah.
Mm-hmm,
and like it was a single person killed that person, and they're like, oh, no, I took care of that. So obviously they're not communicating well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the whole thing
Oh,
was.
right, because he just has been there, done that. I forgot about that. That would be kind of a fun thing, too. I like that idea that they were all, like, thinking that they were working together, and he was just like, no, I'm going to kill all you guys. I sort of enjoy that.
No, that would be very fit the theme of these really evil, because man, anytime they did show them like in the flashbacks or whatever, these guys were super evil.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in that that truckload of explosives, I'm positive there's a phone call happening right now with Wile E. Coyote on the phone with Acme, just super pissed that like, what do you mean your stores are empty? Like, no, I need that explosives. I got to get that fucking Roadrunner, man.
I come here every week. What the fuck?
I'm a black platinum customer here. God damn it!
What do you have to go back to Rock?
Auto ship, Alexa. What do you mean they're out? Yeah.
All right, fine. Just give me the catapult again. Ugh. Try this one more time. But yeah, thanks you guys so much for listening. I think we've got everything covered for this odd film. Natasha, thanks so much for joining us.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
And for everyone interested in checking out her content, just check out the Unspoiled Network and check out her many plethoras of shows. I enjoy the Justified talk, but there's plenty of stuff on there that you can check out, among TV shows, books, and all sorts of good jazz.
We just started Westworld, guys, and if you haven't watched it, I'm the Unspoiled one, and the first episode was a banger.
So Westworld's so good.
It is good.
I love Westworld so much. But yeah, hopefully we will be back next week with just as fun of a film to talk about and just as lovely of a guest. If you want to check out some of our back catalog of Netflix and Kills, check out our back catalog on UGO podcast on iTunes, and feel free to message us about maybe possible movies we might want to watch or possible guests to have on at our Facebook page, or email us at unapologeticgeekout@gmail.com. With that, we're going to get on out of here. We're Unapologetic Geek Out, and we're out. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, it's a Bodak. Don't look at it.
What?
It's T-Rex rules. If we don't move, it can't see us.
We just had to not acknowledge that we do know it's there. I'm confused.